and welcome to another Lawn Fawn video. Today we are so excited to be introducing our die Spring Flowers backdrop, so let's go ahead and check it out. This backdrop die cuts a beautiful frame that is A2 sized, which means it's 5.5 by 4.25, and it is absolutely stunning. The other thing I love about this frame is that it includes all of those flowers. So it has 3 different sizes of flowers, some tulips, and flower centers. And these flowers layer over perfectly on top of the flower frame. So here you can see, we'll put the flower frame over some white cardstock so you can see all of that beautiful detail. And then you can take each of those flowers and layer them on. That way you can add a lot of color by layering over top the die cuts. Another way to add color is with inking or markers, and we're going to be showing you in that video too. One of the other things that I really love about these flowers is that you could use them on their own as well. So you could use your flowers on a card, or you can layer them over the backdrop. You can use the backdrop with or without the flowers. So there is a lot that you can do with these. Oh my goodness, I love them so much. So let's go ahead and create a card with it. We're going to start off by cutting the main frame out of some Cilantro cardstock, which is this really great bright green. And you can see just how beautiful this frame is. I love all the stitching, gorgeous details on it. Then we're going to take some cardstock. We have white, Ballet Slippers, number 2 pencil, and Mermaid. And we're going to be die cutting the flowers from all of these different colors, all the different styles of flowers. Now you could layer the cardstock on just like this and it would look absolutely gorgeous, but we wanted to add a little bit of extra detail. So here is a green marker. It's a little bit darker than the green cardstock, and we're just going to go across the leaves along the frame and just add a little bit of detail. Just something a little extra, a little bit of something special, and it's really easy to do and you really can't go wrong with this technique. We're going to also do the same thing to the flowers, and to help us know where to put the marker, you'll see that those flowers have like a little cut detail on each of them. We're just going to add the marker right over that detail, and you can see that as you add the marker, and this is so quick and easy to do, that flower just comes to life. It almost looks three-dimensional. So all you need to do is pick a marker that's a little bit darker than the color of your cardstock and just follow those lines, those little cut lines on each of the flowers, and look at that. They're just so beautiful. Now, right now, we are recreating a card by Renata, and Renata, this card is so gorgeous, and Renata is a part of the Lawn Fawn family here, and she designed this die too, so we just had to recreate one of her gorgeous cards. So right now, we're going to add some liquid glue onto one of the flowers, and then here you'll see how perfectly that flower is going to layer over top. Oh my gosh, it just looks so pretty. And so we're going to keep doing this. We'll add a little liquid glue with the glue tube, and then we're going to layer each flower on, and I love seeing the frame come to life. It looks so pretty. One of the other things that I love is you can mix and match any colors of cardstock for these flowers and it's going to look absolutely incredible. So you could pick someone's favorite flowers, or you could maybe look at a pattern paper or even a picture from a magazine and just kind of get an idea of some cool different color palettes to play along with this die. I absolutely love creating these backgrounds, and the other thing that I love is that a lot of different cards could come from this. This could be a birthday card, Mother's Day, but in this case we're going to be doing a happy spring because spring is here, so we just had to do that. But any of our giant words will look absolutely incredible in this frame. Now we're going to die cut the giant happy spring out of some guava and white cardstock, and we're going to layer those together for a little shadow. So we're going to add some tape runner on the back of the pink one, and then we're going to layer it over top of the white, shifting it over to the right just a little bit to give a shadow. And I just love doing this. It really makes these sentiments pop. Next, we have a white card base that's 5.5 by 4.25, and we're going to start layering these die cuts. So I'm going to lay that frame down first. Oh my gosh, it looks so pretty. And then we're going to add some tape runner to the back of the sentiment, and we're going to lay the frame down without adhering it to give us placement for the sentiment. Then we're going to adhere the frame down after, and that's because some of those flowers and leaves are going to overlap the sentiment just slightly, so we want to make sure that we can adhere that sentiment down first, and then we can take the frame off and we'll add some tape runner, or you could use liquid glue on the back of the frame, and then layer that onto the card. That way some of those flowers and those leaves can layer over the sentiment, which I think looks really, really pretty. For a last finishing touch, Renata added some white gel pen details, so we decided to do the same. And you'll see that as we add these little white gel pen details, the sentiment comes to life even more. It just looks so cool. So you can just kind of go along those letters and add little lines and dots anywhere that you see fit, around curves, around the straight lines. It's going to look good no matter what. And oh my gosh, look at it. It looks almost three-dimensional as you start to layer all of those awesome white gel pen lines over top. And now this completely die cut card is all done, and isn't it so beautiful? I love the little marker details on the edges of the flowers in the frame. It makes it so special. Now next up, Shari is going to show us how to add some color to the frame using markers instead of layering die cuts. So take it away, Shari.
On my card today, I'm using the new Spring Flowers backdrop, and I have cut this out of some white cardstock, and I'm going to be coloring my flowers using some Copic markers rather than using the die cuts from the die. So I've gone ahead and pulled out my colors. I'm basically picking 5 different colors and 2 shades for each color. So this was my practice piece to give me an idea of what I'm going to do. And the way I kind of colored these is I just colored everything that was the same color. So all the tulips are the pink, which is the R22, and then those large flowers in the other corners are also the R22. This is going to give me a nice balance of flowers because the design of this has already done the work in balancing out all the different shapes of flowers. I'm using the R24 as my darker shade for these pinks. Just putting a little shading on the bottom of the tulips, the center of these flowers, and then I'll pull that color out. And you'll see that this is the same method I'll use to color the other flowers of this same shape. And then I'll just blend out between the two so I don't have a harsh edge. Really quick coloring. Now I'm moving on to my purples. So I'm using that V12 and that V15, and I'm coloring these pieces that have these little heart-shaped leaves. Now when you die cut this, if you cut it out of green, these would stay green because there's not a piece to layer over top of them. So this kind of gives you an opportunity to make them something a little bit different. And you can see I have a piece of just plain typing paper underneath my die cut so that I can color these and not worry about getting my work surface messy. You can also see that I'm not concerned too much with going off on the side of the frame. I am going to be covering that up with a die cut frame as well. Now I'm moving on to the smallest of these little daisy shaped flowers, and I will color all of these in this yellow with a little bit of orange in the center. So I'm using Y23 for my yellow and YR04 for the orange color. A lot of times when I'm doing rainbows, I find it hard to find 2 shades of yellow and 2 shades of orange. So a lot of times these are good to combine together. And it worked out perfectly on this background as far as the number of colors that I needed. So there's all those yellow ones done. And then I'm moving on to these teal colored ones. These are that medium sized flower of that shape. There are 3 of these. And if you just color the same ones all with that color and get that color taken care of, this coloring goes really quickly. Now I know I've sped it up, but knowing where I wanted these colors, since I'd colored this before, it only took probably about 10 minutes. So it was really quick coloring. I'm not sure that I could have die cut these pieces in that short amount of time. And this also gives you a different kind of look, a unique shaded look, almost like watercolored. And now I'm moving on to the greens. So I saved the greens for last, and I'll just color in all the things that are left over. So we have those little green branches and also the stems and the leaves underneath the tulips. And like I said before, this die, the design has kind of already done the work. So if you pick one shape, color all of that shape, that one color, the colors get nice and evenly distributed around the frame. So I'm just working my way around finishing up. I am being very careful when I color these really thin pieces. And if you noticed, when I colored the flowers, I worked from the center and pulled my color out. Instead of going back and forth, I went one direction to keep from bending up any of the leaves. So now I have all my flowers colored. And then I die cut the stitched rectangle frame that matches this just out of that same white cardstock. And I'm layering that around on top, and this will cover up any imperfections where I went over onto the frame with my markers. Now for the background, I'm layering this over the sunburst backdrop die, and I'm going to put my sentiment in the center. I'm using the Spring Magic Messages, and I'm using the Best Wishes sentiment. So I'm holding that circle in that die cut. I put a piece of tape on the back so it wouldn't move around. And this just makes it easier to stamp that sentiment. It holds in my MISTI a lot better when it's in that big rectangle than it would if I just had the circle. And I'm stamping this with jet black ink because I am going to do some coloring to match my flowers. So I have these same markers. I'm coloring the word best using those two tones. And then I'm going to work my way around in these little petal shapes with the same rainbow colors I used for the flowers. I thought that this sentiment went really well with the flowers, especially because it does have those little petal shapes. And it gave me a lot of places to color because I'm leaving this background completely white. So I really wanted a lot of pops of color in this center sentiment. So now that I'm finished with that, I'm going to go ahead and glue my background onto my card base. And then I can do the same with the flowers. Now I'm just using liquid glue for all this, and you can see I'm putting lots of little dots of glue. I'm making sure I get all those extremities of the flowers that might get caught and pop up just with a dot of glue, and that will help hold them down. And then now for my sentiment, I'm just using some thin foam squares to pop that up just so slightly. So it's popped up just a little bit. And then I wanted to embellish this sentiment a little bit. So I'm using my clear glaze. And this is just a clear, shiny finish when it dries. And I'm going to put this over all those little petals that I colored. So this will just catch the light and give it a little bit of shine. And then I'm also going to go over the letters in the word best that I colored, but I'm going to use the sparkle glaze for that. So it's going to have a little bit of glitter. So you can see that shine that those glazes create. And then finally, I wanted a little bit of shine on my flowers, but I didn't want it to distract too much. So I'm using these clear droplets, and I'm just adding them to the center of the flowers. So I've put a little bit of glue, excuse my head, I really needed to see to drop these in place, and I kept dropping them with my tweezers because they're round. But I just put those in the center of all those kind of daisy shaped flowers. And then here is my finished card. I like how those droplets match the shine on the sentiment, and you can still see those colors through it perfectly.
Oh my goodness, Shari, this card is so gorgeous. I love this marker technique and the rainbow look of it. I can't wait to try this myself. And next up, we have some gorgeous cards by the design team. And here you can see in Megan's card that she layered the giant Happy Mother's Day sentiment into her flower frame, and it looks so gorgeous. Here, Elise created a custom sentiment using the Henry's ABCs, and it looks so gorgeous. I love the pattern paper behind the floral frame. Grace's card is absolutely gorgeous, and I love how she combined this frame with our Foxy family dies and our Scripty mom. It's so sweet. This card by Callie is so much fun. I love the pinks and the reds and the sentiment cut from some gingham paper. It looks so beautiful together. I love how Kara layered a white die-cut spring flowers backdrop over an ink blended background. It looks absolutely stunning, especially with that giant Easter message. And this card by Shari is so much fun. I love how she layered the Happy Mother's Day with some awesome gold glittered cardstock. And then here, this card by Elise uses Henry's 123s, and she used just the flowers from the die to create that really gorgeous little detail around her numbers. And I thought that was such a cute and sweet idea to use the flowers on their own. So we cannot wait to see what you guys create with Spring Flowers Backdrop. It's one of my new favorite dies, so make sure to share it with us. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Bye!